Good afternoon, Sergeant. Come on all the way forward, please. Please raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Sergeant, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, this way, sir.
Need a mic up?
No, just, you can leave it.
Okay.
Should be good. All right, you may proceed.
May it please the court. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Sergeant Lawrence Smith with the Jacksonville Beach Police Department.
And how long have you been part of the Jacksonville Beach Police Department?
Been with them for a little over 19 years now.
Give the jury an idea of your training and experience that allows for you to be a sergeant in the Jacksonville Beach Police Department.
There's a process. Becoming a sergeant, you have to be a corporal first, and there's processes you have to go through to kind of prove yourself to be able to supervise and lead others in all aspects of law enforcement. That would be the way you became a supervisor, but it also goes back to your own training, personal training.
Are you a sworn law enforcement officer?
I am a sworn law enforcement officer.
Did you graduate from the police academy?
I did graduate from the police academy, yes.
And in the beginning of your career, what kind of work were you doing?
At the beginning of my career, I started off as a patrol officer, and I also was very interested from day one in crime scene investigations, so I joined the department's crime scene unit. At the time, we were called evidence technicians. We have since changed that name to crime scene investigators. But I joined that, and I was kind of the boots on the ground investigator for about 5 years until I was promoted.
You were promoted first to a colonel, then to a sergeant.
I was promoted first to corporal, but I was able to remain a crime scene investigator as a corporal. It was 2014 when I was promoted to sergeant, and at that time, kind of promoted your way out of those duties.
Explain for the jury who's probably familiar with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, is the Jacksonville Beach Police Department part of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
No, we're not part of the Sheriff's Office. We're a total separate entity from the Sheriff's Office. We work hand in hand with the Sheriff's Office, but most of all of our investigations are investigated in-house with the in-house with our general investigations unit, but also we could use other entities like the Sheriff's Office, and even we use federal agencies like DEA or ATF.
Is it fair to say that the Jacksonville Beach Police Department is much smaller than the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office?
It is much smaller. It's a smaller land area, and I believe you have 71 sworn officers that are in Jacksonville Beach, which is about a 5 square mile area of land. But it's surprisingly, we can go from, I believe we have about 23,000 citizens, but on the weekends, the beaches out there, we can go up to probably 50,000. So we wind up policing more than just our citizenry.
Thank you, Sergeant. If you could just please pull the microphone up a little bit higher, since you're so tall, I may have a hard time capturing your voice. Just keep your voice up.
There is no microphone.
Oh, there's no
There's a body mic there.
There you go. That works much better.
All right.
Thank you. So the small 5 square mile area of Jacksonville Beach, is that still part of Duval County, Florida?
That is part of Duval County, Florida. It's one of the I guess there's 4 counties: Duval, Jacksonville, which is considered a county, or considered a city, Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, and Jacksonville Beach, all part of Duval County.
So I want to turn your attention to February 16th of 2022. Were you working that evening?
I was.
And when did you first become aware that there was an incident in Sanctuary Parkway in Jacksonville Beach?
I believe it was late. It was around 7:50 or so in the evening. It was either dusk or becoming or dark as it was. We were on the north end investigating a domestic dispute. The majority of the squad was there on that call, and we started receiving dispatch calls to somewhere in South Jacks Beach. The calls, I would say, the dispatchers knew something was going on, just couldn't quite pinpoint it, but they were receiving enough 911 calls to realize that something was happening, so they started dispatching us down there until things got figured out while we were en route, basically.
And did you hustle down there?
First call came out, I believe, might have been a vehicle assist. Wouldn't respond. You wouldn't hustle out of a vehicle response, but the frequency of the calls picked up, and by the time I got to where I was, to about Beach Boulevard and 3rd Street, I was going in emergency mode based on the information that we were getting from dispatch.
So were you the first or one of the first police officers to arrive on the scene?
Yes, it was. Nobody could really describe exactly where this occurred. It was everywhere from, we were dispatched kind of to a general area of a quarter mile, I would say, every different call. Nobody quite knew exactly how to describe the road that it occurred on. And I went down, I happened to be the first to come across the road that it was on, which was Sanctuary Boulevard.
And Sanctuary, I guess if you're going south on it, it dead ends into Butler Boulevard.
Yes, Sanctuary is a feeder from the residential area of Jacksonville. It's a feeder road into J. Turner Butler Boulevard.
I guess the other side of Butler, just a little bit further south, turns into St. Johns County.
Yes, very, very close, very close.
It was close to not being in Jacksonville Beach.
It's very close, quarter mile.
Describe for the jury what happened when you arrived at this vehicle, what you saw.
Well, I guess you have to kind of describe the road to make this understand. It was a 2-lane, one lane road, if that makes sense. It was a north and south travel lane, but each lane the lane was wide enough for one car, and there's curbs on each side. And there was one of those lanes that went south, and then there was kind of a ditch, and there's one of those lanes that went north back to Jacksonville Drive, which is the opposite side of JTB. These lanes, once you entered these lanes, you were committed to go into JTB. There was no backing up or turning around, or if you were in there and there was a problem that was in there, you were stuck in there. And that's what I found when I got there. I found a bunch of cars stacked up behind the victim's vehicle with the hazard lights on. Cars were just stationary, sitting there, and that was probably a good 200 feet of cars. I don't know how many cars that would be. I had to, because the lane is so narrow, I had to drive pretty much in the grass on the curb to get around everybody, and that's where I came across the Volkswagen in the road with Mr. Bridegan.
Would you describe this area as dark?
This area is, I would have to say, by far probably one of the darkest areas in Jackson Beach, if not the darkest area in Jackson Beach. It's dark enough to where you safely say at night with no moon, you can't see the hood of your car. It's that dark.
And this area of Sanctuary Parkway, are there homes that are adjacent to the road, or is it woods?
It's woods. There are woods that divide the homes that are on the west side, and there's kind of a swampy area. Then there's the southbound Sanctuary Boulevard, northbound Sanctuary Boulevard, woods, and then you've got homes on American Avenue.
So you get out of your patrol vehicle?
Yes, I got to the scene. I noticed Jared on the ground. His flashers were on. I get to the scene. I see Jared lying there. Jared's face down in a pool of blood. I sort of get focused on him. our initial response, we're trained to make sure that, one, that the scene is safe, make sure the scene is safe, make sure the scene is not active. That's our first thing. We've got an overload of sensory when we get to a scene like this because we don't know what we have, and we're trying to figure it out very, very quickly to get the scene safe and figure out and integrity of this case. So I initially got out of the car, thought to myself originally, hey, this is kind of a funny place where somebody would commit suicide. I initially thought it was somebody that got out of the car and shot himself, the way the body was situated, the way he was laying, and the pool of blood around his head.
So I just want to make sure the jury heard this right. He was face down?
He was face down, and I say face down. He was face down on one cheek or the other. He wasn't face down on his forehead. He was face down on I don't remember which cheek it was, but one cheek or the other cheek.
Meaning his stomach, his belly button was on the...
His belly, he was prone on the ground with his belly on the ground.
And having responded to this scene, were you aware of gunshots? Did anyone report gunshots in the area?
That I remember was probably third or fourth call that we received from our dispatch, and that kind of made everything that was going on make sense. From all the different kind of calls we got, that was where we were like, okay, this is what we've got. We've got gunfire. So
better hustle. You hustle out there, and you're scanning to make sure the scene is safe. How do you do that?
It's just a matter of being observant, getting to the scene. You really are trying to focus on the injured person, but you also got to make sure that there's nothing going on. There's not an argument still going on. There's no cars that have just sped away. There's nobody that's potentially still there that could be armed, wanting to do more harm. But it's just kind of a plethora of things that run through your mind in an instant when you get there.
So were you able to quickly determine that there was likely no other danger in the imminent vicinity?
Yes, when we got there, there was no signs of struggle. There was no yelling, no cars speeding away. We didn't get any information of cars speeding away. It was pretty quick that we discovered this was not an active scene.
Okay. So once you make sure other lives are safe, do you focus on trying to help the victim?
Yeah, now it's time. Once everything's safe, now it's time to focus on the victim, trying to save his life.
What did you do?
I went up to Mr. Bridegan, checked his carotid artery, did not fill a pulse. I then rolled Mr. Bridegan over and began CPR on Mr. Bridegan on the side of the road. I did that for a minute or so until my partner came up, and he actually came up and told me that there's a child in the car. That's what I heard. There's a child in the car. He actually said there was a child in the car. I heard there is a child in the car. So he said, let me take this over. You need to do what you need to do supervisory wise. So I passed off my portion of the CPR. I passed off to him. He continued CPR. I went to the car. There was no child in the car. And come to find out the child had been taken out of the car just prior to us being there. And he saw the child being carried back from the scene. I never saw that. I never saw the child.
So you're no longer doing CPR because you're kind of the senior officer on the scene.
Yeah, he knew that I had things I had to do right now. Things were calm. We're working on CPR. That's usually a one person job until you get relieved. You relieve yourself through the process of it. But he did CPR until Jack's Fire Rescue arrived.
You've already described how quickly everything's happening and how you're getting little pieces of information. What kinds of information were you gleaning while you were doing CPR on Mr. Bridegan?
Well, like I said, my initial thought was that he committed suicide. I don't know why. I don't know why that came to my head, but it was my initial instinct. And as I rolled him over, I noticed 2, if not 3, shell casings under or near his body, and at that point, obviously, I realized that it was more than just a suicide.
Typically, people don't shoot themselves multiple times.
Absolutely not.
Okay,
Yes.
fair enough.
And there was no gun on the scene.
Didn't see a gun. Did you notice anything on his hands?
Yes, I did notice. Well, I've got. Excuse me.
Yes, sir. Take your time. I've dropped the mic a dozen times.
It's still on? Did I break it? Okay. When Jack's Fire Rescue, when they come out and they pronounce somebody deceased on a scene, out of dignity for the person, they usually put a sheet over the deceased body just to cover him up out of respect. This sheet was over his body, but his left hand was still out of the sheet, and I noticed the ring on his left finger. I noticed his wedding ring on his left finger hit me in a way that an emotional way for me. I'm married 30 years. I saw that ring, and I just thought, wow, we're about to give somebody the worst information of their life.
Okay. Did you also, during this process, notice the pockets of Mr. Bridegan and whether or not he had been turned out? In other words, was there any sign of a robbery?
There was no sign of a robbery. I believe his phone was still in the car. I believe his wallet was attached to his phone. His pockets were not turned out. There was no indication. I don't think any time, as when I was there, I thought that robbery was even part of this incident. Didn't know what happened, but I didn't think robbery didn't take a priority on this one.
So at that point, you see the multiple shell casings. It's a homicide. Someone's calling the phone, because you mentioned the phone was in the car. Do you recall that someone kept repeatedly calling Mr. Bridegan's cell phone that was in the car?
There are on this is almost 5 years ago, and there are memories that kind of come and go, but there are very few vivid memories I have of this case. They were all kind of emotional. One being the ring on the finger, and two being when Kirsten started calling. When I saw on the infotainment center, the center console, where you have your music and all that stuff, somebody calls, their name pops up. I saw Kirsten's name pop up. And then probably 3 or 4 minutes later, I saw the name pop up again. It stuck with me that her name is very close to my wife's name. So I kind of read that as my wife's name. So it touched me in a way. And then as the evening or as the scene progressed, the frequency of those calls came in more and more, almost like you can tell it was a panicky, where are you? You should be home by now. What's going on?
Mr. Mizrahi?
I think it's relevant to show who's calling the victim when he's been shot and killed. So I think that's relevant.
Okay. Let me see you at sidebar.
Does the blood in the car indicate that the victim was in the vicinity where that blood was located when some of the bullets hit him?
Yes, and some of the bullet strikes in the car would lead one to believe that the person was shot inside the car.
And obviously, when you got there, I think you've already indicated that the door to the Volkswagen was open and the flashers were on.
Yes, sir.
Did you notice the tire?
Yes, I did. There was a tire that was mostly in the middle of the road, enough for a road obstruction in the road in front of the vehicle. And I noticed the Volkswagen was kind of cantered on the road to where it was possibly he might have been getting out of the car to move the tire, or the tire was definitely impeding his traffic.
And you don't know whether the tire had been moved by the victim to any extent, if at all?
No idea.
We'll go through a few of the pictures so you can describe what you've already described so the jury can get a visual of them.
Okay.
We'll go through them relatively quickly. We're going to call another witness to go through them in detail. But it was a video, a walkthrough video conducted by one of your evidence technicians at the scene.
There was, yes.
Is that what we see here in State's Exhibit 3?
I'm not seeing it moving, but I believe it is.
It's not moving, but that's a still of it.
Okay, so yeah, more than likely that is. With the flashlights, it was so dark back there, you had to use flashlights to kind of light the scene for the camera. So flashlight would make it, yes.
Now that I hit the button, you can actually see it moving.
Yes, and there's a lot of flashlights going around.
So we'll go to State's Exhibit 4. You were describing the two lanes. If you could use your picture up on your screen to show the jury the southbound lane, they can see obviously the vehicle, and then the northbound lane.
Is it a touchscreen?
It is a touchscreen, just like
Okay,
99.
so this is going to be the southbound lane, kind of curves around and goes out to JTB. And this is the grass median right here that I talked about, kind of a swampy area here, about 20 feet or so of grass. It gets wider and it gets narrow in certain spots. And here is the northbound lane. You can see the two curbs here that would make it possible for anybody, this is happening on the same side, make it possible for anybody to either turn around or go around somebody.
And now we're going to fast forward to some pictures that show Mr. Bridegan, albeit with the sheet covering him. Just for everyone to know. Showing you State's Exhibit 8 and then State's Exhibit 9. What are we looking at here?
We're looking at Mr. Bridegan's body next to the vehicle. This is after he has been rolled over by me for life-saving try or life-saving attempts. What stands out with this, like I said earlier, his ring finger was outside of the white sheet, kind of near the curb. So I actually requested another blanket just to cover his hand.
And we see a lot of people out there working. Are those members of the Jacksonville Beach Police Department?
These are all members of Jacksonville Beach Police Department.
And we obviously see a large tire in the road. Is that the tire you referred to?
This is the tire we referred to, yes.
Okay, I am going to fast forward now to State's Exhibit 20. Again, there is some images of Mr. Bridegan in these photographs. So fast forwarding to 20. What are we looking at here?
Are we referring to his left leg?
Well, no. Well, first of all, the pockets. What do we notice about the pockets?
Oh, pockets are in. Pockets have not been touched or turned out, which would indicate this wasn't going to be most likely wasn't a robbery. You think pockets be turned out, wallets be taken, cars.
See that rescue had tried some additional life-saving measures. That's not something you did. That's something rescue did.
That's rescue does to check for any sort of life or any sort of, I'm not sure what they're looking for, but
See some placards here. Is that going to be marking of potential evidence like shell casings and projectiles?
Very well could be. I'm not sure. It might actually be the marking of his body there, but you can see in number 4, that's a shell casing.
So that's what you described when you got there. You're like, oh, wait a second, this isn't just suicide.
Yes, this is when I rolled him over and I started seeing these things, and it really kind of brought it together.
Fast forwarding to 25. Is that the ring finger that you described?
That is the ring finger I described, yes.
Fast forwarding to 28. Is that going to be the marking of a projectile that was found underneath the victim's body?
That is a projectile, and that is a very unusual projectile. It's not something we see commonly with pistols, with handguns. But honestly, when I first saw it, I didn't know what it was.
I can ask some more questions to lay a foundation, Your Honor.
All right, you may.
Yes, that's a.
But let me ask you, Sergeant, let me ask you a question. In part of your 19 years of training experience, do you know a lot about guns?
I am familiar with majority of guns. I'm not saying I'm a gun person, but I know how to make them safe. I've seen most guns use pretty similar ammunition, and this is not one of those guns.
And in the course of your training experience of being an evidence technician, do you come across projectiles at crime scenes that you have to photograph and collect and things like that?
Projectiles are extremely important on crime scenes. Projectiles can lead a bullet, or a projectile being a bullet that's expelled from the shell casing. That can lead back to a gun, which can lead back to a suspect.
And we have experts that will be coming later, but just based on your first glance of this, you thought it was an unusual type projectile, excuse me.
I originally did not know what that was.
And then fast forwarding to number 36, stage 36, what are we looking at here?
That is blood in the car, and up near the steering wheel, there is a bullet strike.
Okay, so the red, what you've just circled is a bullet strike. If you could go now and circle where you see blood.
Down here is where I'm seeing the blood in the car.
And that's obviously on the inside where the gear shift is and away from the door.
That is, yes, that is the center console. It would be where the driver's right side would be.
And then I guess we can go back to stage 36. Excuse me. 34. Do we also see some blood here?
Yes, there was obviously there's blood here, and there was blood, I believe, that was kind of up in this area here, but there definitely was blood along this B-pillar / door frame.
As a sergeant in Jacksonville Beach, were you the lead investigator, or did other detectives take control of the investigation of the case?
I was not the lead investigator. I was the lead investigator is going to be part of our GIU unit. They're the ones that take over. I supervised. I was not the lead CSI either. I supervised the unit, the CSI unit, as kind of a support role for them. Extra eyes, a little more. Just basically in a supportive way to help them get their job done. Worrying about things about search warrants and the importance of certain evidence.
So just because you've been doing it for a long time, you kind of helped out and watched out, but you were not the lead investigator.
I was not the lead investigator on this now.
Have a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
That's all the questions I have, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Cross?
Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Good afternoon.
You told the jury just how dark it was at the sanctuary where this homicide occurred. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's a really short distance between where that dark road starts and JTV starts, correct?
Yes, I would equivalent to about two blocks, 2 city blocks.
And although Jack's Beach isn't huge, relatively, that's a very small part of Jack's Beach.
Yes.
And you being a law enforcement officer in Jacks Beach, as long as you have, you know that it's not dark everywhere in Jacks Beach, correct?
No, this is definitely probably the darkest area in Jacksonville.
Sure. But as soon as you leave that area, you get into residential neighborhoods that have streetlights.
Either you get onto J. Turner Butler Boulevard, or you get into a residential area with street lights. Yes.
Right. And if you, let's say you go to JTB, of course, that has streetlights.
Yes, sir.
And if you go toward where the shopping center is on the back road, like Nor Grande, there's
Jacksonville Drive.
yeah, Jacks Drive leads you right to 15th Street, right? The road that goes from Jacks Beach all the way up toward the police station.
That's going to be South Beach Parkway, which turns into 9th Street.
Okay. South Beach Parkway, where the hardware store is, and all those businesses.
That would be Marsh Landing Parkway, South Beach Parkway.
And that's all
J. Turner Butler, those are all kind of in the same area. They kind of intersect in the same area there.
But my point is, it's all well lit in that area,
Oh, yes, it's all well lit.
going all the way up toward the police station.
I would say yes. The lights are amber lights. I say not well lit, but amber lit, and you can understand the lights are. I mean, it's not like this, but there's definitely lighting.
And there's sidewalks where people are walking up and down all the way up to the police station.
Yes,
And there's parks that you pass.
yes. There's a park, South Beach Park.
Okay. So when you talk about just how dark it was that night at that time, you were talking about just a very, very small part of Jacks Beach that was so dark you couldn't see the hood.
Very